All right. So in the last class, we saw all these things. We talked about how the LLMs are trained, but I think there was one topic which was left behind. So let me take you some brief recap. Okay, so we talked about AI, machine learning, neural network, deep learning, generative AI, and large language models. We talked about the definition of artificial intelligence and then the different aspects of it. Basically, AI means if you are building some systems or some applications which mimic uh, what a human can do, basically, right? Whatever task which we as a human being do, if we build intelligent applications which can also perform similar task, then we say, okay, we have built AI machines, basically AI machines or AI apps. For example, the applications which are having vision capabilities, or they can give some question answering and things like that. We talked about all these things. What is machine learning? Two type of machine learning. One is supervised, where we have the label data; unsupervised, where we don't have the label data. Okay, and then we saw this diagram. What is this? This is basically unsupervised learning, where we have clustered the different images into different groups, and the data was not labeled. Here in the supervised machine learning, we have the data labeled. We have this bike, we have this truck. So we feed lot of label data, and then we train our model. And once it is being trained, it will, if I pass this image of the car, it will be able to tell me whether it's a bike or a truck or a car. Okay. Then we saw how the model is trained and how it is evaluated. We saw deep learning, or the neural network is also a machine learning, but with a different architecture, different concept, where we have these neurons and different layers. We have these input layer, output layers, hidden layers. We have some neurons, some weights associated with them, and there is some activation function which is there in the neuron. So once the data is passed, that activation function is triggered, some calculation or arithmetic happens, and the value is passed to the other neurons. Okay, and we also have some weights. Our purpose of doing training is to calculate those weights, those optimum weights where our loss is minimum. Once our loss is minimum, that means our weights are tuned in such a way that if we give some input data, which my machine has not seen in the past, it will be do the right predictions. Okay, so that's what and we have also seen some examples, some regression models, some classification models, and a neural network, how to build these in our Python library using scikit-learn and NumPy and Pandas, things like that. Okay, and then we saw why there is a sudden boom in the generative AI, because of the massive data, because of the compute power availability. We have these different cloud platforms where we can spin up the machine in just few minutes. So availability of those compute resources, lot of data, and then the machine learning innovation. In the machine learning innovation, we saw the transformer architecture. What is generative AI? It's a special field where we can generate new content. Basically, that content can be text, images, videos, or music. Okay, we saw the difference between the traditional machine learning and these foundation models. If you want to do some NLP task earlier, we used to train each of these models separately. For text generation, I have to train one model. For summarization, another model, and then I have to use. Now, with the foundation models, which are being trained by some third party, like OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, right? Now, what we can do is we can just use one model and we can do multiple tasks. Okay. So that is the beauty. What is inference? Whenever there is a machine model, if I give some input, it will give me some output. Same is the case with the language model. We have to pass a prompt and the completion will happen. Okay. In between, what we need to do is our prompt is changed into tokens. Okay. Similarly, the tokens are produced and those tokens are converted into English words. Okay. Then we saw what is large language model. So large language models are, again, these are also the machine. ML models, but they have some different architecture because they are based on transformers architecture, which was released by Google researchers in 2017. Okay, so all these LLM models does is they are basically same. They also have the same behavior. They also take some mathematical features as an input and they produce some output. Okay, so those words which I was saying they take as an input are first converted into some numbers and then it also produces numbers in the output. So it is no different from earlier machine learning models. It's just the architecture basically. Okay, so we can think of LLM as an, text input and text output machine. Text it will take as an input and it will produce text as an output. Okay, so what is the basic funda? They always try to predict the next suitable token or the next best token for a given sequence. Okay, they take lot of compute power, lot of memory. This is the architecture. They have two parts, encoder, other part is decoder. This encoder help us basically understand the context of the input sentence. And then this decoder part try to predict the next suitable word. That word is also sent as an input. And then it further try to find out the next best word and so on and so forth until it gets a completion token. Okay, so this is the architecture. You have encoder, decoder. This is the input. This is input embedding, where our words are converted into vector form. This is positional encoding, which basically uh, help us to retain the sequence of the words in a sentence. This is multi-head attention, where a single sentence is understood from different perspective. I give you an example. Ram may go to Ayodhya in May. That has two May, right? Ram may go May and the month May. So how this model will come to know, although the spelling of the word is same, it has different meaning, right? So that's what it will do. It has multi-head attention. It basically knows how much attention to give to which word, right? And then again it will analyze the sentence from different perspective. For example, who is going? Ram is going. Where he is going? Ayodhya. When he will go in May, and things like that. Okay, so that was, and predicting the next token. If this is your input sentence, it will be first broken into different tokens. One word is roughly about uh, one token is roughly about one word, but that is not the case always, right? So it is said that one token is equal to 3 by 4 of the word. So every tokenizer has its own dictionary by which it will divide the words into different tokens. Maybe this chicken can be of two words. Can you guys mute yourself? Okay, for example, chick can be one token, en can be another token, right? So it's not like exactly one word is. Okay. All right. So what it will do is it will see all these words split into tokens and it will try to predict the next best token, right? So it's a road, and once the road will be put into the input sequence, and then it will try to find the next token for this sentence. Now after the road, what should come? It says, okay, this is a question, so question mark should come. Like that, it basically predicts the next token. And then we saw there is a softmax layer which produces the probability score for all the words which are there in its dictionary. If there are 1,000 words, if there are million words, for each word it will create some probability. For example, the road as the next word will have the probability of 0.20. River will have 0.10, and then it selects the best one. So there are some configurations, although these each of these configurations are not available at the API level, they are available at the low level, basically very close to the LLMs. But still, for the sake of your information, so that you don't feel that I haven't heard about this, I'm just taking this one. But we just need only one configurations while we develop or code our application, which is temperature. So let's talk about the different configurations. For example, maximum new tokens. If you set this as an 200, then what will happen is your LLM will only generate 200 tokens in the response. It will not generate some 2000 or something. If you have a question, for example, tell me about the Prime Minister of India, so it will stop its response after 200 tokens. Okay. So this is being usually done if you buy the providers so that they are not exploited more by the consumers. Otherwise, what will happen? Even a single user will create so many completions with so many tokens that it will get uh, overburned. Okay. Every token has a cost, right? That we need to keep into the mind. And whenever a token is generated by LLM, there is a huge power and there is a cost associated with it. Okay. Then there is so this is the maximum new tokens. If it is 100, it will create 100 tokens. It is if it is set to 150, the LLM will generate only 150. And if it is like a maximum new token is 200, but if our response is getting completed in 150 tokens, then it's not necessary that it will generate 200 tokens only. Are you getting? So it will generate basically 200 or less. And then there is something called greedy versus random sampling. Are you guys with me? Is it
Yes, yes,
is it
yes,
Yes,
sir.
becoming
Viren.
हाँ मोनोटोनस होता है तो मेरे को बता दिया करो कि यार बहुत बोरिंग चल रहा है. I know it's a theory basically, so sometimes you may feel boring, but still.
In second last slide, there were two more things: sample tokens, max sample tokens. So what that
This one,
means?
this one.
इससे पिछली वाली में before.
हम्म.
Yeah,
ये वाले.
sample top के हाँ.
हाँ, and this I will cover in the.
Okay, coming.
I'm going to cover in
So,
this.
is there any limit for the input tokens as well?
Yes, there is a limit. So whenever you go to any large language model, if you are using GPT-4o, then you will go to the GPT-4o documentation. It will tell you the context window. Okay, so that context window means the number of maximum tokens it can take in the input. Let me show you right away. Okay, or ChatGPT, OpenAI. So in the OpenAI, if I go to documentation, in the documentation, go to models. So these are the different models from the OpenAI. Okay, platform.openai.com docs/models. For example, GPT 4.1, O4 mini, O3. So let's say, so GPT 4.1 is our flagship model for the complex task. This is the context window, 1 million. Okay, so you can only pass maximum of 1 million tokens in your request. So there is a limitation. And on the output, 32,000 maximum output tokens it can generate in one request. Okay. And also there are pricing. Pricing is also different for input and output. Whatever input prompt you send, they are being charged as $2 per million. Okay. This is per 1 million tokens. You have this cost, $2. Output, it's $8. Output is costlier than input. Okay, whatever output token it is generating, it will cost you $8 for 1 million tokens. Is it clear? So you can quickly compare 4.0, 4.103 mini. These mini models are usually very uh, cheap, you can say. Cheap, or they are comparatively cheap. Okay. So if you want to use any model, you should go for 4.0 mini. That is efficient and uh,
Lightweight.
lightweight, basically. Where is 4.0 mini? 409. 4.0 mini. Just $0.15 for the input and 0.6 in the output. Okay. So this is it.
And how many tokens were there? Context, sorry. Mini के लिए.
हाँ, इसके लिए is also I think 128K basically in the context.
128K, while it was some
1
million
million.
for,
Correct. 1 million for.
and 16,000 max output,
Hmm.
which was more. Yeah.
More in that case. That's why the cost was also more, right? So, I mean, it depends on your requirement, right? If you are not sending too much of input text, then you should go for this one. Okay, then we will see what are the other recordings. Sorry, other configurations. Okay, so there is some configuration which is again low level. We don't find it, or we need not to select all these one. For example, greedy and the random sampling. So this softmax output layer, you have seen that it creates the probability score for all the words in the dictionary. So if your setting is being set as, or your sampling is set as a greedy, then the word or the token with the highest probability is selected. So if your sampling is equal to greedy, then it will always select cake. Okay. Although this cake is having 20%, donut has 10%, banana has 2% of chance getting selected as an output, but still, since it is greedy, it will always give cake as an output. If your sampling method is random or weighted sampling, it select a token using a random weighted strategy across the probabilities of all the tokens. Here there is a chance of 20% for the cake will be selected. Okay. So now the output token will be selected based on their actual, probability. Only 20% of the time cake will be selected. So if you have 100 requests for the same text input, it will select cake only 20% of the times, 10% it will select donut, 2% it will select banana. I hope it is clear. So basically your output will be more diversified or varied if your random sampling is there. For greedy, it will always select the word which has the highest probability. Okay?
But what is greedy sampling means?
Greedy sampling means it's basically greedy, right? It will select the word which is having the highest probability.
Okay.
Getting?
So this is a way means.
This is a way to tune your output. Same things are also there in other settings, almost same thing. Okay.
Okay, so these are the probabilities, and to select the one, if
Hmm.
we are using greedy, then it will select with the highest probability. If we are using random, then it could select anything.
2% of the time it will select banana, 20% chances are there cake will be selected. Probability is still there, but as per the probability, the words will be selected. Okay.
Okay, but if it is so, then because ultimately it has to be selected by, according to the probability.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I will tell you. I
greedy
will.
is the one
Mm-hmm.
which is
I
selecting
will tell
according to
you.
the probability. So we should use
Mm.
greedy only.
I will tell you why. Okay. In the
Okay.
coming slides. Okay. These settings are almost
Yeah.
similar. For example, there is another setting which is called top K. In top K, what will happen if you say K is equal to 3? Just give me a second. Let me close the door. Okay. So in top K, what happens if I say K is equal to 3, then what my model will do is it will select only out of the top 3. It will not consider rest of the tokens at all. Are you getting? So even though Apple is having 1% of chance being getting selected, but still they it will be discarded and it will become 0. Okay, because we have given K equal to 3. What we are saying is you should select the output token only out of top 3. Top 3 means 1, 2, and 3. Only output should come out only from these top 3 tokens.
So it will take any one of those top three, and what is the logic
Yes,
it will
yes,
use
yes,
for?
yes, yes, yes. Again, the probability score will come into picture, right?
So it
Point,
will again go for greedy, or it will go for random.
it will go for random.
Okay, okay.
Okay. And then generative, see, if it is greedy, then it's always going to be 0.2, right?
Yes, yes. That's
Hmm.
why I was
Yeah.
asking. Like,
Hmm.
But anyway, once you explain why we need to
Hmm.
choose between the different probabilities,
Yeah.
then we'll
These
understand more, I
tokens
think.
are stored in a sequential order, I mean sorted order, or
No, they are basically sorted in the probability one, na? The score of the probability.
okay.
Okay, so it's like a dictionary basically, right? We have this Oxford dictionary which has all the words. So what will happen? It will analyze the input and it will generate the score of the probability for all those words, and then it will pick the words as per the configuration. Okay. Then there is something called as the top P. In top P, what will happen if P is equal to 0.3, it will start adding the probability of right from the beginning. It will say, okay, 0.3, 0.2 plus 0.1. So it will consider only these two records because the cumulative sum of these two is becoming 0.3. So it will give the output only out of these two. If it is 0.32, then it will also consider banana. So this one basically means the cumulative, it will add all those. Select an output using the random weighted strategy with the top ranked consecutive results by the probability which and with the cumulative probability less than equal to P. Clear, guys? So if P is equal to 0.3, it will give output only out of cake or donut. If K is equal to 3, it was giving, it's just taking the top three, 1, 2, 3, irrespective of their probability. But here we are adding the probability and seeing it should not cross the threshold basically. Okay, it's just another way. Okay.
So, but how will you define this p-value that I need to have? This is the maximum weight of my selection. So
Yeah.
I understand the K, I can understand. Okay, maybe in the
Mm-hmm.
top three, I won't always have the first
Mm-hmm.
result, one out of first top three.
Mm-hmm.
But the weights I will not be knowing, right? This is the weight for each and every output. So how will
Correct,
I
correct.
decide my p-value?
So, as I said, we usually don't touch these settings, to be very
Okay.
frank. Okay, we
Okay.
only alter, there is something called as a temperature, which is coming in the next slide. We don't alter these. Okay, so they are already set or they are at a very low level. When we develop the applications using API, we just have to select the temperature. Okay.
So this P will be different for each and every model, and every model will follow any one of this particular configuration.
Correct, you can say. So in the front screen, you have seen, right? Sample
Yeah.
top K, top P. So all these are
Okay.
those settings basically. So you can change them and you can see the difference in the output. Okay, and based on your requirements or your use case, you can basically alter it. But as I said, I have been working in this field for so long, but I never changed K or P values. Okay, we only play with the temperature.
Temperature.
Hmm.
So here the weight will not come into picture, remember?
Weights, no, weights will not come.
Okay.
So
It's
K
just
and
the
P is related to, let's say, internal programming of these languages a bit. We are not utilizing it, right? We are
right
mostly setting up temperature.
temperature. Correct.
Okay.
Okay, there is something called temperature where what will happen is when we have the low temperature being set, it will strongly peak the probability distribution. Okay. For example, or let me take the next slide. Okay. So what will happen is it's zero 0.4. So it will peak the distribution basically. Okay. And in this case, when the temperature is high, it will basically flatten the scores. Okay, so the difference when you say it's peaked, that means the token which was having the maximum probability, the curve will basically peak out and there will be more difference between this one and the one which is going next. For example, this one, 0.012. So the difference will increase basically. Whereas in this case, the distribution will be more flattened and the probability scores will be more or less same to each other. Okay. So why, as I said, why we will decrease the temperature or increase the temperature? So what will happen? So when you have temperature close to 0, it will make so this will peak out basically. Its value will become more. Okay, and this probability of getting selected will increase. That means whenever our temperature is less, we will get more accurate results, right? For example, if I'm writing any SQL query, okay, my LLM is trying to write an SQL query, then I want that my output should not be creative. It should not be distributed. It should not be like that. It should be selected as 15% time cake should come out, or 12% of time donuts will be come out, right? Because it will make my query wrong. If I'm saying select name from employee table, I don't want to play around with it, right? I don't want any variation or creativity. Whereas if I have an application where I'm basically writing a poem, or I'm writing a story, or I have an application which will suggest name of the babies or name of the restaurants, I want the different outputs, isn't it? At one time, I want to say apple, at the other time, I want to say banana, right? I want my output to be more creative. More variety should be there in my output, right? Because I'm writing a poem. I don't want it should create same words, or, same thing. I hope you got the difference. When the low temperature, the model is more confident in its top choices. The results are more deterministic. My output is going to be with use a low temperature setting for applications that do not require creative generation, such as generating MySQL queries. Okay, I don't want to play. I don't want to change the name of the column just because I'm selecting. If I want to select the name or the ID of the employee, then definitely I want to select only those. I don't want any creativity. Getting use a high temperature setting for a application that requires more creative generation, such as generating copy of the landing page or a short story, right? Things like that. It's recommended to try both the settings. Usually, whatever work I have done, I take temperature as 0.2 or 0.1, very close to 0, but not absolute 0. Okay. If it's absolute 0, sometimes the model may fall into some infinite loop of tokens. It will generate same token again and again, because it will choose the token with the it will the distribution will peak out, and it will go on keep on selecting the same token. Okay. So what I would say is
Is there any
just
maximum and minimum value for this
yeah
temperature?
So it's 0 and 1.
So maximum is 1.
Yeah, 1. Yeah.
It doesn't give. Okay.
Some models give it 0 to 2. Okay, but most of the time you will see 0 to 1. Okay, so let me open, I think. This OpenAI playground. Can you see playground somewhere?
Is this a single decimal, or it can be multiple decimals? One decimal or 2 decimal?
Yeah, I will just show you.
And Surendra, you said we will not change top K and top P, right? Usually, if we change top K and top P, based on that, our model results also will changing. Then,
Correct.
based on our requirement, we have to change the top P and top K also.
Yeah. If based on the requirement, but as I said, usually we don't do. We only alter the temperature. But if it is required, I
But
think
as we are doing, and we will not change the temperature. We will change the top P and top K only, and we will validate based on that we are getting the actual result or not.
right. So what I see here is model GPT-4o, text format, temperature 1, tokens itna, top P is 1. So you have this setting, right? So you can make it 0, you can make it 2, right? Maximum tokens and top P. So you can just play around and just see for the same prompt whether you are getting the same result or not. Make it temperature as 2. Okay, and then you will see whenever you are giving even the same prompt, you will get different answers, right? Because the probability distribution. If you make it 0, your outputs will be unique, or they will be repetitive basically. Okay. Okay, so you can play around only in the playground. But when we develop the API, at that time when I am defining which model I am using, I usually set a temperature as 0.2 or 0.1 or things, or very close to 0. But still it depends on my application. So usually in industry, we build applications where we need more accurate answers. But if the use case is like that, our application is generating some poems or something where which needs creativity or name of the restaurant, then definitely I can increase my temperature. Okay? Don't put lot of brain here because this is not really that important. Only the temperature is what you are going to change. Okay, so just it's just that you don't you don't get surprised if you see top P and top K. That's why I have explained you. Okay, their real meaning basically, but usually we don't change them. Okay, everyone. Okay, or not okay? Yes, no.
All good.
Yeah,
Sir.
we are good.
All right, we will quickly start. I think we have already invested 45 minutes. So our second module is basically how these LLMs are used in consumer applications. Okay, so LLM, we will see what are large language model APIs, what is message based interfaces, and what are frameworks. So if we talk about the use cases, we usually use them creating chatbots and the virtual assistants. This is one of the main use case. Okay, so even in my company, we have built a lot of chatbots. So what these will do is they will automate customer service and support, providing 24/7 availability and quick response time. Earlier, what was happening is, for example, if I have an issue in my broadband, I used to call my customer care, right? And the customer care used to put and I used to hear the voice, you are at the queue, you are in the queue, you are at number 6, number 5, number 4, number 3, and finally I get connected to some agent, some customer service executive, right? And then he used to solve my problem. I used to say, okay, my broadband speed is very low, or it got disconnected. Then the user will go and put my number or my account number. He will pull all the details, and then it will say, okay, sir, your bill was pending, so we have pending for last 1 month, so we have disconnected. Correct, guys? I think everyone must have experienced this one. So now what is happening is those customer care executive or agents are getting replaced by some chatbots. So what those chatbots are doing is they have access. So there are some chat interfaces where user will say, okay, I have this problem, my broadband is getting disconnected. Then there is a large language model in the behind the scene. So it will take your query, it will understand your query, and it will also go to the database or some vector store where it will search your account number, or from your phone number, it will search your entire data. And it will find, okay, you have not paid the bill. And then it will give you the response, right? So what these applications are doing is they are gradually changing the actual human executives who are there at the customer care. Okay, and this is one of the biggest example or uses of these LLMs these days. Okay, so what happens is these chatbots have access to your data, so they can go and they can analyze your data themselves. Otherwise, what was happening earlier is the agent was putting, they had some application and they were searching your data with some account number, and then whatever results are there, they will see, okay, you have not paid the bill. Now all those things are being done automatically with the help of these chatbots. They have access to your content, they are making query to your content, they will pull the relevant content and they will analyze the words or the sentences on the text, and they will generate the response. Okay, so this is one of the major use case. And then there are something called as the virtual assistants. They offer personalized assistance. Now this is more sophisticated because they are also having access to your lot of data. For example, email management, right? Your reminders, schedulers. So these assistants are basically more personalized. They are customized to your own needs and data. Okay, so you can build these virtual assistants also, which are a bit complicated to build, but still we usually build agents for these. Okay, what are agents? We will see. So the LLMs are majorly used for creating chatbots and the virtual assistants for the content creation and the curation, right? Automatically generate some articles, blog posts, and social media content, enhancing productivity of the creators. Okay, so this is ChatGPT, right? So they have built their application where you can do anything. You can, write essays on a certain topic. If you have some content, if you want to summarize them, if you want to draft an email for your manager, right? If you want to understand some design document, you just copy paste your design document and ask your questions on top of it. If you want to do the entity recognition, just put some text and ask what are the different places or the names which are referred in this article. So almost everything which is related to the language you can perform with the help of these chat GPTs. This is Claude Chat, this is Mistral, Lee Chat, right? So they have their own interfaces, and behind the scene they are using large language models. This is chat GPT who is making use of OpenAI models like GPT-4o, 4o Mini, O3, and things like that. This is a Claude chat, which is using Anthropic chat, which is using Claude models. Okay. Similarly, this is Mistral. Okay. So basically, they can perform all kind of language tasks. That is the beauty which we saw in the first session, right? They are able to perform lot of language tasks in one go. And there is something called as the perplexity. How many of you have heard about the perplexity or used it? No one?
We have used it.
Yeah. So perplexity is again, it's basically a search engine who, based on your prompt, does a web search and then it will generate the response. Okay. So just like earlier, what we used to do is we used to write our question in the Google. Then the Google matches those text with the various websites content, and then it will show you all those websites, right? And then you need to go into each and every website and find out your answer. So what Perplexity is doing is it is again doing the same thing. It is going to all the websites, it's pulling the relevant information, and then it is giving you response in a very curated way, right? For example, on Friday, what I remember is the Trent stock was down by 12%. So if I ask, tell me why Trent share was down by 12% on Friday. Okay, so this is my simple query. So what it has done is it has gone to the different websites, for example, Reuters, CNBC 18, Times of India, and 11 different web sources. Okay. And then it is telling me Trend share fell by up to 12% on Friday, primarily due to disappointing near-term growth guidance issued by at its annual AGM. Okay, so they had some annual general meeting, where they have said that the near-term growth prospectus is the guidance is basically disappointing, which fell short of both investor and analytics expectations, right? And then it can give you a lot of details. So I am personally using Perplexity more than ChatGPT these days, right? In summary, trends. So what it has done is it has gone to different websites, and based on my question, it gathered content from all these websites, and then based on my question, it generated one response for me. In summary, Trend's 12% share drop was driven by a lower than expected growth forecast for the coming quarter. Okay. And then it also tell me what could be your next question, like, why did trend share fall by over 12 on Friday? Why did trends growth forecast at AGM disappoint investors? So they are follow-up questions. So it's an engine which works on the web. It goes to the web and it collects the data. Okay, and behind the scene, it is also using some large language model. Okay, so if you see, if you take the subscription, then you can do some deep research, right? And then if you click, it's working on these models: Sonar model, Claude 4.0 Sonnet model, GPT 4.1, Gemini 2.5, GROQ 3 beta. So all these are models. So you can change your model and you can ask your question. Okay, and you can also set your web sources, right? If you want this question to be answered only by the web, then it's auto selected. If you want to get your answer from some academic papers, then you can select this one. If you want to go to some social discussions and opinions on some social platform, then you can select this one. So you can basically select what should be your knowledge base. This is called knowledge base basically. Okay, from where it is getting the content. You can also give some attachment, you can give some files, okay, and you can ask questions out of it. For example, this is my linear regression. Hmm. So attaching and asking such questions is not the best use case, because perplexity is usually used for your web kind of search. I hope you got it.
So, Surendra, is it recommended to use it for the project purpose? Like if we want to analyze any document, right?
Yeah, I mean, it basically depends. So usually companies don't allow you to put your content in these uh, chat interfaces, because if once you put your content, it basically goes to their models, and that is being sacrificed, right? The security of the document is sacrificed. They use that information basically is passed to them, right? So usually they don't allow, but they also offer their APIs. If you want to do such kind of thing, they also provide you APIs. So you need to take their subscription, their APIs, and then you can invoke it from your uh, environment basically. Okay. So you can see how beautifully it's explaining me. This is the importing libraries. This is the data preparation, plotting the data, linear regression, logistic regression, whatever we have done in that notebook, it is showing me all those things. Okay, it is similar to the ChatGPT, but it's a bit different because Perplexity is the first one to start doing the web search. Okay, so if you want to analyze something on the web, right, so this is the right place. If you know someone who is like IPS or uh, someone is CM or deputy CM or PM, if you want to know about them, and the information is basically for them, the information is there on the different websites, then it will go to those websites and it will pull all the information and it will give you the response. Okay, so this is the Perplexity, and you go and explore. Okay, this is good one. And then, so in these cases, you have seen you are basically doing what? You are creating your own interfaces, and LLMs are running behind the scene. But it's not like that. You always need to build your own interfaces. For example, this Telegram, this Messenger, they are also using LLMs with their existing interfaces, right? Even in the WhatsApp now, you see that circle, right, where you can ask your questions and things like that. So you can integrate LLM services also in the existing applications. All right, so they are being used for creating articles, blog posts. We will create this one, right, which we will create one application for the blog post. Okay, whatever language related task is there, you can always use LLM. Others are like, for example, for the language translation and learning, for example, Duolingo. This is the application which my son also uses to learn German. So what this is doing, this is also having their own application, their some Android application, right? They build that application and they use LLM in the backend for translation, right? So this is another example, Babel, Descript, Chat PDF, Notion, Apple Intelligence, all these are basically using one or the other large language models in the backend for all these translation related things or text analysis, summarization, and all the tasks. Okay. So if you are creative enough, you yourself can basically build some application, some useful thing. For example, you can see these days, right? There are so many applications which are creating some videos or some images, right? So you just give image as an input and a prompt, and then it will generate some Ghibli image or some other kind of effect. Okay, you must be getting a lot of ads of these applications on the Instagram as well. Make your old picture live by using this application. So all those applications are just creating some interfaces, and then in the backend they are integrating some LLM. Okay. So now there is one important concept and one thing which I want you to understand is LLM is, for example, in the last session, I told you ChatGPT is not a large language model. Okay, so there is always some client and server architecture which all of us must have worked on, right? So what happens is there is a backend application and there is a client. So client interface means you have those screens or those user interfaces where people log in and they interact with the backend application. Backend is the application which is deployed on your server. And now this server, so this is not basically LLM. So what I mean to say is there is a backend application and then it basically interact with the database, it interact with some authentication services. At the same time, it also interact with LLM. So LLM is nothing but it is also one of the services. Just like database or other services, it is one of the services which your application, your backend application is invoking as and when needed. If it has to do some translation, then only it will give those sentence in the English and ask it to convert it into German. Then it will give the response. Rest of the things are done by other services. Okay. We talked about Duolingo, right? So Duolingo will do what? It will create some user interfaces. It will create some codes for you to learn German in 30 days, right? It will write all those logics and UI things here. And then whenever it needs to get the English sentence converted to German, it will call LLM service. So calling LLM from an application, LLMs can serve as a part of the architecture or even as the main component driving the application's core feature. LLMs can perform specific tasks within your application logic, such as generating text, answering questions, processing NLP inputs, service integration. LLMs can be integrated as a service within the backend architecture, providing advanced capabilities like language understanding and generation. Okay. Right? So based on your use case, you will just create some prompt and you will give that prompt to the LLM, it will give you the output. So these are the different ways in which you can use LLMs, and this is the architecture basically. And then one main thing, whenever we are using, when we will build our applications, what we will do, we will basically use the APIs. Okay, I hope everyone knows the word APIs. Okay. So these, yeah. So what happens is we have seen the LLM are what? They are input output machines. We give some text as an input and we get text as an output. So this is our basic vanilla large language model, right? Any model, when given some input, it will generate output. Now what these LLM providers have done, for example, Google or OpenAI, they have created another layer or abstraction on top of the LLM, which is called LLM API. So what this will do is it will take your prompt as an input. This API will create some functions, right? In the API, what we do? In API, we create some functions, and as a consumer, we use those functions and give the input values or the parameters, and then that LLM API will do some some changes in that request, and finally it will send that request to the LLM as a text, and then the LLM will generate some output and it will give back to the LLM API and it will give the response to the consumer. Okay, I hope you understood. नहीं समझ में आया? So what I'm saying is, on LLM basically as a model needs some text as an input and it will generate some text as an output. Prompt and completion. So what these LLM providers have done is they have written some API and they have exposed that API to the consumers. किसी को भी application बनानी है, he can go ahead and use that or call that API. And in the API, they have some functions. For example, there is a prompt function. Okay, so they will give text as an input to this prompt. That input will be consumed by this API and further it will send the request to the LLM. So there is what we have done, we have created one layer on top of our LLM basically. So but this is the older way basically, right? Where we are simply passing the text and the text is passed to the LLM. Now, what these LLM providers have done is they have created another layer which is called message based APIs. And this is by intention, although there is a small bump up in the complexity, but it is very useful because we are building the applications more conversational, right? So as I have given you an example of the Airtel, where now there is a chatbot where we give our question, then we will get response from the application. Okay, tell us your phone number, then we will give us phone number, then it will say, it will ask some question back to me, right? So the interaction is basically conversational, isn't it? Yes or no? So there are a lot of messages which are being passed from between user and the application. So in order to make the application conversations, what I want to do is they have changed their API and converted them into message based APIs, where they have created something like system message, human message, and AI message. And if you have 100 messages, we can club those 100 messages and we can send them into our API, and that will be again go to my large language model as a single request. ठीक है, अभी इसको और हम समझेंगे in detail. Don't worry if you not able to understand. Okay, so all I want to say is these days the APIs of these large language models have become message based. API is structured around natural language messages for specific tasks, chatbots, personal assistants. What is the advantage of message based APIs? They are now task specific, they are simplicity, and they are efficient. Models can be fine tuned for specific domains, improving accuracy and response time. Okay, let me give you the playground, right? So if you go to quick start, you will see these messages. Okay. Or let's say, let's do the practical now. Okay. So let's say I want to invoke this one. I will go to collab. So everyone, if you want to do with me, you can access your Google Colab right now. New notebook. So what is Google Colab? Can anyone explain what is Google Colab? It's an environment which is basically running at the Google level, Google servers, and we need not to install Python and anything like that. Only we need to do is if we want to use some specific Python library, that we can install and we can execute the things. But it is running on the Google servers, not on our local machine. This is the difference. If we want to run it on the VS Code, on the Microsoft VS Code, then everything is running on my local machine. Okay, so this is one of the quick way to run anything. That's why we are going for it. So in order to use the OpenAI APIs, what you need to do is you need to go and you need to generate some keys here. Okay. And in order to use the OpenAI keys, I think you also need to give your credit card details. Okay, for example, I charged it with the $5 some 2-3 months back, and it's still I can see good amount of balance is there. So what you need to do, you need to go into the platform.openai, log in with your ID. Okay. Once you do, go into the user's profile, your profile, go into the billing section and add your credit card details. Okay. Once you do that, you will get access to the APIs. ठीक है, सबको समझ में आ रहा है ना? It's a payment method. I have added my credit card. This is my billing history. Everything is there. ठीक है, you add your credit card and then I think it will charge $5 or so. You have to make initially $5 payment. Once it is being done, go into the API keys, create a new key, name it, let's say batch 3, select a project, default project, create a secret key. What I have done is this key has been created. So you have to copy it and you have to put it at a safe place, because if it is lost, then you have to generate new key. Okay. So let me keep it somewhere. Okay. Now I am into my Google Colab. If I go back to the documentation, let me close this one, this one. So in the documentation, docs, there is something called quick start. This quick start will help you to get some code very quickly. There is some select Python and then you will see this code, right? So they haven't tell us to install. Okay, let's try this one. So selected the Python. So this is the Python code in order to quickly connect to the OpenAI. I have. So if you hover here, you will see to add another cell of code or text. Okay. As I said, IPYNB is a Python notebook where you can also generate some documentation using OpenAI API. So this will generate my documentation side by side. Okay. That's why we use IPYNB, because earlier what we were doing, we were creating some design documents and some word documents, and we were writing some code, right? So they were not in sync. Now with this IPYNB, I can write some good amount of comments and everything. I can develop documentation as well, side by side. Okay, so I have selected that. Now here, let me select this one.
Surendra, where did you select Python language? Okay, can you show that again?
Yeah, here. If you go to quick start, let me share this link with you guys. I need to install it, right? Pip install OpenAI. So this is that API which I'm talking about. Every provider has created their own API which we can consume. So now I have done pip install OpenAI. That means it has installed my library. Okay. And then what I should do is there is another thing called setting your API keys. Okay. So setting OpenAI API keys. Import OS. Okay. OS.environ. So you can see this is giving me hints, right? I need not to write the code these days. It will just suggest me what I should write. So input OS and then os.environ. This is the name of my key. If you go to the documentation, I don't know why they have not configured your development environment. Okay, so this is the command, right? Pip install OpenAI, which we have just done. Are you with me, guys?
Yeah. So, Surinder,
Hmm.
normally this API's key is right. What is the best practice? Where would you keep it? Because you may not.
Correct. So we usually use secret managers, right? If you are using Azure, then I will use Azure Secret Manager. If I'm using AWS, they also have some secret key managers. So there we store it. For example, here also in this platform, there is something called as secrets, right? So what you can do is you can put your keys here. Okay, I have already created these many keys. So if you click on that key icon, you will be able to add a new secret.
So this will be like project to project specific, right? Or you would.
Correct. So this will be available. For example, these keys will be available for any IPY file I build on this platform with this user ID. So that is specific to my user ID.
And even when you are doing this on VS Studio, so in that case,
in that case, we can basically create .env file. There we can put.
Okay. Environment file.
.env. Okay. So on this one, if you
have
don't want,
validity, right, Surendra?
which one? The keys? No, they don't have.
Okay.
Validity is up to before you.
No, generally AWS keys kind of things, right? This one.
So yeah, I mean, you may have to rotate it on the platforms, but here I don't think I have not seen. But I usually keep on deleting and generating new keys, right? Because I'm taking classes. If
okay,
by mistake I expose those keys, so I keep on rotating them. Okay, so what you can do is the best practice is you can use this one. Just add a new secret. I have already done. In the key name, you just put OpenAI API key, and here you can paste. Let me paste my new value. I will take this one and I will put this one. Okay. And then I think UA in the end, it is not YA. Okay, now this is done. Click on tab and then. So I have placed my key and the value, and they also tell me how to use it, right? In the below section, they tell me how to use this. So I will just copy paste this code and I will put it somewhere here. From Google Colab, import user data, user.get secret name. So what is secret name right now? This is my secret name. And where I want to put it, I want to put it here. Or let me Control X. Is everyone with me or able to understand?
Yeah, sir.
So OpenOS I have done. And then from the Google Colab, what I'm doing is in the right hand side, I am basically getting the value of my key from this key manager. And I am assigning it to os.environment open.ai api.key. So by doing os.environ and setting this key, I am making this value available to my code, which is on into this environment basically. So now if I invoke this one, it will automatically go and check my OS. If there is an key like OpenAI API key, if it is able to find, then it will use that as, and it will pass in my request. Still saying the option must be either set by passing. Okay, I have not run this one. हो गया? Now it's running. So I can also do something like which I was doing earlier. Control C. For simplicity, I can also do my key. I can paste directly here also, right? But that will expose my key in the code, which is not a good practice. So I am importing it from my key manager. Okay. So now I have set my OpenAI API key, and I have imported the library, which is from OpenAI, import OpenAI, and I have created my client object. Now with the client object, what I can do, I can do client.chat.compression.create name of the model which I want to use. For example, I don't want to use this model. Where is the model details? I will go to the models. I want to use O4 mini. So this is also reasonable. Okay. So if I want to use O4 mini, then I have to take this name. Okay. Copy paste and replace this one by this one. And this is what I was explaining you in the deck. Now my API has changed in a way that I can basically give it certain messages, because there is a conversation between the AI and the human, right? So what we do is we create that stack of the conversation and we pass it to the LLM. So this is like messages, and this is a list, and this is the first element. This is a dictionary basically. Okay. This is Python dictionary. Let me tell you more about Python dictionary. It's a basically key value pairs. Okay, so this is like that person, and then your curly brackets, name in the double quotes, colon, the value, and then comma. So this is first key value pair. This is my second key value pair. This is my third key value pair. So this is what a dictionary is. So person is a dictionary which is having three keys: name, age, and is a student. Okay. So if I want to print the person's name, I will use person dictionary and I will provide the name of my key. My key name is name. So it will give me output as Alice. If I want to say, if I want to set the value of the city, person, city, New York. So this will add another key value pair in my person dictionary. Okay. So this is exactly what we are doing when we are passing the messages list, it is again key value pair. What is my key? My key is role. Value is user. This role can be user, system, and assistant, AI. And this is content, means this is the message, right? So my question is role is a user. So user is asking a question. What is the question? Write one sentence bedtime story about a unicorn. And whatever completion I will get, right? I will get the response in the completion. This completion has various choices. I will take the first one and I will tap into the messages object in the messages. Okay, so I will get response in the message. Within the message, what I want content. Okay, so I will tap into the content. It will give me the response. So the response is as a crescent moon rose, a shimmering unicorn, blah, blah, blah. So what it has done, it has created one sentence bedtime story about a unicorn. Okay, write one sentence on Milkha Singh. If I do completion, Milkha Singh, popularly known as the Flying Sikh, was an Indian sprinter who overcame the traumas of partition to win gold. Okay. What we are doing, what we are learning today, how to call the LLMs from our client code by using APIs, message-based APIs.
And Surendra, where we can find this? This is the format. Like these are the roles and predefined roles, and this is how we need to give the input to this model.
So I took the code from the official website of
Oh,
OpenAI.
okay. Okay.
So they have given that
So
particular.
we are going to follow the same thing. For every
Yeah,
model, we have the sample code.
correct. So if I go to quick start, I can see the code.
Yeah, got it. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
But in a dictionary, you can have more than one one value, right?
Absolutely. So what we can do now, we can give more values. Let's say I say this as a system, and I say, so there is a system message also, right? So in the system message, what we tell, there are three type of messages basically, right? One is the system message. Another is your user message, and the AI message, which is a response from our LLM. Okay? Response from LLM. This is our basically prompt or the user instruction. Okay? This is a system prompt, or what happens is, if you are creating any specific application for a specific use case, I want my chatbot or my application to behave in a certain way. Right? For example, here this system message will define the persona of my assistant. Right? If I want to say, let's say, whenever you get any question from the user, if you talk about that Airtel example, whenever your user will ask a question, we want our chat bot to respond in a very respectful manner. No, it will always say good morning, sir, good morning, Surender. So those instructions we can give in the system message, saying that you should always greet the user with some welcome message. And whenever you are concluding your chat, you should say goodbye or something. Or if you want to use some specific word, chai, jai hind, whatever. So that those kind of instructions you can give in the system message, so that you need not to repeat those things in every message. So that is for your entire conversation. ठीक है, ट्राई कर लेते हैं. System message always complete your response with Jai Hind. ठीक है, so this is a system instruction. User ने क्या पूछा है? The question is still same. Let me rerun it and see whether it follows or not. Milka Singh probably knows the Flying Sikh, and then Jai Hind. Did you get? So
Yeah,
this
I got it.
basically defines if I say always complete your response in a manner, in a maybe say comic manner, okay, or maybe you can also write sarcastic, so it will always give you answer with the sarcasm. Milkha Singh, Legendary Singh sprinted the 400 meters so fiercely in the 1960s that even his shadows has to take out a fast track pass. Just getting? So now what it has done is it has converted its response into a comic way, right? So by using the system prompt, we basically change the persona of our chatbot application. Get it?
Yeah, yes. So what about this AI messages? How it will
AI
be
messages. So AI message is basically the response of the user. So if I remove this content, if I try. So this is my AI message, chat completion message. Okay. And this is the content. Just like the user role, the role is the user and the content. This particular output message which we are displaying, this is basically chat completion message, and this is the content. Earlier we were directly tapping into the content, right? And then let's say our conversation is going on. Okay, let me tell you. User is saying, let's say my name is Surendra. So let's see the response. Well. If it is, isn't it the one, the only Surendra? Your name sounds like a Bollywood super, whatever. Okay, superstar. Because our system message is a comic, so it's behaving like that. So now, if what I can do is I can take this, I can create another. If I say like AI. Good to know that. And then if I ask the question again, what is my name? Then it should be able to tell me. So I'm just trying to tell you the conversation part of it. Okay. So what happens is when we are interacting with any AI chat bot, for us as the developer, it's become very important to create the entire conversation and send it in every communication with the model. Why? Can anyone tell me why? Because LLM is not having any memory, right? For LLM, every request is a new request. It has no information of the previous request. If I tell in the chat GPT, my name is Surendra, it will say hi, hello. And if I ask what is my name, it will be able to tell me, right? But how it is able to tell me? Not not because it has taken the reference from the previous conversation, but because we are sending the entire conversation as the request. In every new request, we will send the entire history of the conversation. That is the reason it knows what is my name. Okay, so if I does that, I think this AI is not correct. It should be
the comma is there. The dictionary you are not close.
this one.
And,
This should not matter, but I think this is not correct.
okay.
It should be invalid AI, right? It should be basically
system user function to developer.
supported is system assistant. It should be assistant basically. Okay. My memory banks, your name is Surendra. Okay. आपको समझ में आया why I did this thing?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, good. Okay, so this is how we can invoke our APIs. Now there is another platform which is called GROQ, which not sure if I covered in my previous session. So in the OpenAI, you had to put your credit card details, but in this one, I don't think you need to put your credit card details. It's absolutely free. GROQ. So I will log in again into the GROQ platform. GROQ is a platform which basically hosts different models, different open source models. So these are different keys. So I will just click on new key, batch 3. Copy. I will again put it here. And then now go into the documents, go into the quick start. Let me tell you the models first. These are the models basically which you can use. These are hosted on the GROQ platform on their hardware. This is this Gemma, all these are Google model. Gemma, this is Llama from the Meta, Llama 3.3, whichever model you want, you can basically use. Okay, so how to use it? Again, we will go to the quick start. We have already created the key. Now it says you have to export this key. So I will take GROQ API key. I will do the same thing. Go into this one, GROQ API key I have already set. Let me see. I will delete this key and I will paste my new key. Sorry. Okay, so this GROQ is absolutely free. Okay, so I have enabled this particular key, set the values. Now how I need to write the code? First it says you need to pip install GROQ, if I'm not wrong. Python pip install GROQ. Okay, I will install the library. So they have their own APIs to expose the functionality of their models. And then again, I will copy the code. Okay. This is, we need to set the API keys in the environment. I can do right here. This is smart enough. This has suggested me code. Okay, GROQ API key. I will execute this one again. And within the GROQ, I have initialized this one. I think even if I remove, this will work, but let's first try it. So this is name of my model, Llama 3.3, 70 billion. So what is that billion we talked about in the first session? 70 billion weights are there in the large language model. Okay. So if I want to change my model, I can definitely do. Okay. If I go to models, I can choose, let's say, any other model you can take. Gemma, this is older one. So you can try yourself. Let me keep it 3.3 only. And the concept is almost same. I am imported OS from GROQ, initializing my client. This is client.chat.completion.create. This is the stack of messages. Explain me the importance of fast. And I'm again tapping into choices, message, and content. Okay, fast language models have become essential in today's technology, efficient and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So even if I remove this one, let me try if this works. It should work. It basically automatically looks for that environment variable. This works. Okay. So here also you can, so this is the place where you can basically also put the temperature. We talked about the temperature, right? So where I'm telling my model, okay, here I'm telling, right? So here I think you can mention temperature 0.7 maximum token, these settings. Okay, if I run this one, got it?
Surinder, if you write a lot, code written in Colab, right? I think you may have to change that when you move to Visual Studio, right? Because it may not.
Why?
The GROQ functions and other things, will that work, or you have to?
Yeah, it will work. Only thing I need to change is how I am importing my secrets, right? There I will use .env file.
Okay.
Otherwise, this code will work. I can show you if you want right now. VS Code. Machine learning. So this is my project, where it has gone. Here a batch 3. Okay. So within the batch 3, let me close them out. So okay. So I was also supposed to tell you about virtual environments. Chalo, I will tell you. I will run this code once I will explain you that. Okay, let me cover this one up. So we have seen message-based APIs. We have created the API keys for OpenAI and for GROQ. Billing details are required for OpenAI, not for GROQ. So, but ideally you should try both of them. Documentation, quick start, writing code, and all these things we have done. So now there is one main thing which I would like to focus, like using large language model. You want to take a break, guys, or you are good? If we take a break, I can stretch up to 10-15 or so. Or you want to finish?
Yeah, we'll take
break ले लेते हैं, and then we'll stretch to 10-15 or 10-30. ठीक है? Yeah.
right.
Hello, everyone. Are you guys back?
Yes, Surendra.
Surendra.
Okay. So let me share the screen again. So we have seen this one. Now there is something called as large language model frameworks. Okay, so let's say we are building some application, and let's say I am creating an application, something like Duolingo, which basically do language translation, and I am going to use OpenAI API. So what I will do is I will write some code or some OpenAI service, and it will invoke my OpenAI APIs. Okay, so this is the way, right? This is my core application. I will build one service, which is OpenAI service, which will make connection with the OpenAI model, and it will pass the prompt and we get the response. So usually you would create a service for your LLM integration. This service might be specialized in providing translation, conversations, and message. Right? We will have our own system message, which will say, this is how you need to behave. For the input sentences, you need to translate the sentence into German, and couple of instructions we can give, and then we pass our user prompt. But let's say after building this application, Anthropic says that now they have released a new model which is 10 times faster than OpenAI model, and maybe 10 times cheaper also. So what now we will do is now we have to inference Anthropic. We have to change our code. We need to write another service, right? Because this service was very specific to OpenAI. We were installing OpenAI APIs, and we were writing all those things which are specific to OpenAI. But this Anthropic API may behave in a little bit different manner. So we have to rewrite another service which will be specific to Anthropic. And we will change our code basically. Right? So what we are seeing is, if we are switching our LLM, we need to make some changes in the code, lot of changes. In fact, we need to build all together different service, right? And it's not only the LLM, there are other things like, for example, if we are using vector database and if we want to switch that also, we need to make some changes. So our aim is, can we have, some LLM agnostic service which basically can plug in with all of these LLM providers, right? So let's say I have some framework or a layer of abstraction on top of these, right? Some API which can work with all these APIs. So if I want to use OpenAI APIs, I will just change the name of my provider, and that name of the model or the provider I can keep in some configuration file. If I want to switch to Anthropic, I just need to change my configuration file, and rest of the code is good to go. So in order to make such a provision, right, this is one of the reason why we use large language model framework. So there is something called LLM framework like LangChain or Llama Index. So what these providers are doing is they are basically creating one layer of abstraction on top of all these providers, and they give us an interface where we can plug in any of these models or any of the vector databases or any other services which are required in building the application. Okay. So this is one of the reason why we will not directly write our code, just we did right now. Okay, we simply imported OpenAI, we installed OpenAI, and we passed our prompt, and we got the completion. But if our application is very simple enough, where we are only the thing which we are doing is just passing the prompt and getting the response. If that is the only task which we are doing in our application, then it's fine. Even without using LLM framework is also good, because if in our simple applications we are bringing or using LLM frameworks, then we are making it unnecessarily complicated. Okay. So what I mean to say is, the advantages of LLM frameworks are there, but we have to make a very, good decision whether you should use it or not. And the following things will help you. For example, if you use LLM, your development is simplified. Your API agnostic design will be there. And if you want to build some complex workflows, right? For example, if you are creating an application where maybe you are using multiple models, or maybe you are using multiple components, so the input to the one component will produce some output, and output of that first component may be passed to my second component. From second, the output is passed to my third component. So if you are building an application which is having a complex workflow, in that case, it's advisable to use LLM framework. Okay. And LLM framework also have enhanced capabilities. They have a very, although these products are not very matured in the sense they are comparatively new. These companies are founded maybe in 2021 or 22 or so. They're quite young, but still their community or support is very good. You can go and ask your questions. If you're fine, if you are having some exceptions or concerns, you can go and put those things in the community. So they have good community and support. And more than a simple LLM call, as I emphasized, if you are using chain of thoughts, LLM interactions with third-party tools, if you're creating agentic workflows, then it's worth using this framework. Else not. Right? If you are making some simple calls, just sending a prompt and getting a response, again sending a prompt and getting a response, then it's not worth using LLM frameworks. So our next two lectures will be focused on learning LangChain basics, because this is one of the framework which is widely being used in the industry. Okay. I hope this is clear. Any questions anyone has? All right. So there is a small quiz basically. So maybe we can attempt this quiz together. What is the main function of LLM in an application? To replace the user interface, to serve as a backend component, to manage applications entire database, to generate application settings. Anyone, please?
Second one.
Correct. Okay. To serve as a backend component for language-based task. Next question is, what is the key reason of using LLM framework instead of direct API call? It allows for simpler switching between different language model providers and provides easier control of complex workflows such as multi-step data pipeline, RAG, integration with observability systems, significantly reduce application storage requirement, eliminates the need of API key, enables offline usage.
First one.
First option.
First one, correct.
The later, in the first option, we don't understand maybe everything.
So
RAG and
RAG.
correct. So this I haven't explained by purpose. We will cover it later. Okay. RAG is basically retrieval augmented generation. We have two lectures in fact for RAG. Okay. Then why would you not need a language model framework? Options are there. You can read.
single API call.
Single API call is needed.
Hmm.
Second option.
Right. Okay. If you are just using a single API call, and if our application is simple enough, we don't use framework. What would be suitable use case for a language model framework? Generating the questions and answers for this quiz based on the module's lessons transcription, right? Rendering a web page with a single HTML template, logging a user into application, sending a single email notification.
First
one.
First one, correct. Because this is a bit complex, right? It has complex workflow. It has multiple steps basically. Okay, so this is all on how to use the complex LLMs. Let me take you. This we will cover in few minutes. Local environment setup. So in industry, since I'm also working in different projects, so what the usual practice is using the VS Code, we develop our application. Okay, so how to set up the local environment? First of all, what is the need basically? So challenges in the Python setup. Setting up Python development environment can be frustrating. Common errors you will get like NumPy, no module named NumPy. Why is Python setup difficult? Python is a powerful, it struggles with dependency management. So there is one problem with the Python is it is not very good at dependency management. Unlike NPM or Yarn for JavaScript, Python's packages management is less intuitive. Okay, so in this module, what we will learn how to install the Python, how to set up or how to manage the dependencies of the your project, and how to set up virtual environments. Okay, so installing the Python, we will be using mostly 3.12. So do you want me to show you how to install the Python? I think if you are using Windows, what you can do is you can go to just simply type Python, download official website, downloads. It's already there, 3.13. You can try installing 3.12. Okay. 3.12.11 you can download. यहाँ पे option is there. You can download this one. Three point one two. So if you are using Windows 64-bit, just click on this one. You will be able to download. Okay, so the Python which you will install, it will be installed on your laptop or on your system, which is being used by all the applications which are there. So this is your, you can say this is your base version of the Python or the main version of the Python, which your laptop or your applications are using. Okay, so you also need to set the path. And I think once you run this installer, it will, there will be a checkbox. So since I have already installed, it's asking me to upgrade. If you are doing it the first time, there will be a checkbox which says add this path also in my path variables. Okay, so you have to make sure your Python installation variables are also set in this environment variables. Okay, it should be there in your path variable. Okay. Python. Okay, I have multiple versions and it will do itself if you click that checkbox. Okay. Can you guys do as an assignment? You can install this Python 3.12 and what next? Installing Python. To install Python, follow these tab. Go to the Python official website, download the latest version. Make sure to check the add Python to the path. After the installation is complete, open the terminal PowerShell and run the following command Python -- version. Okay, so once you install, you can simply go to your command prompt. Okay, and you can type Python. Okay, 3.12. That means Python has been installed. Other than that, there is a concept of virtual environment. So what happens is we may be working on this VS Code. We may be working on multiple projects, right? Maybe one project for one client, another project for a different client. And those requirements for those projects may be different. Maybe in one project, I need to have Python 3.9. Okay, 3.9. And Streamlit and Matplotlib X.3. Other project has a requirement of Matplotlib X.4. So if I upgrade, if I use my laptop environment where I have installed the Python, what will happen? If I want to switch from this project to this, if I upgrade this one, it will basically break my first project. So what I want to do is I want to set up different environments for my different projects because they have different dependencies. I don't want to mix them so that while upgrading one library, it may start working for my second project, but it will stop working. It will break the functionality of first and third project. Okay. So my aim is to have dependencies of one project at one place, and it should not interfere with other projects. So that's why what we do, we create different environments, virtual environments. And there are a couple of ways we can use VENV, we can use Conda, and we can use Poetry, right? What I usually use is I use VENV command to create virtual environments. ठीक है, सबको समझ में आ गया? I hope this is clear. Why do we need virtual environments? I will just create
Why?
one.
Can you repeat it once again about virtual environments?
Yeah. So what is happening is, let's say this is my project 1, this is my project 2. Okay. In my first project, I need
Say
Python
the
3.
same things, means libraries and everything for every project.
Correct.
Got it.
My different projects have different needs, right? So I want maybe
Yeah.
Streamlit X.1 version for this project. Maybe for other project, I need X.2, right? So if I use same environment, what will happen if I upgrade Streamlit X.1? I say pip install upgrade Streamlit, then it will upgrade it to X.2. But at that point of time, my first project will stop working. It will see some conflicts. So in order to segregate the dependencies, I will create different virtual environments for each project. Okay, so that they don't interfere with each other. So what are the command? VENV is what we are going to use. The command is very simple. Python space -m VENV, the name of your environment. And then we run this script. So once I run the first command, it will create one folder with my env, or whatever name you give for your environment. It will create a folder with that environment. That folder will have this activate file. We need to run it from my terminal. And then if I need to deactivate, I simply put deactivate. Okay, so let's do this one. Default way of creating environments is the standard way, built
It's
in.
giving error. Means I just installed Python
Mhm.
and tried it.
Can you show me your screen? Share your
Um,
screen.
just a moment. Yeah. Okay. Just now I installed Python, and Python, which my company allows, is 3.11.
Okay.
Right. So
What it is saying, Python 3.11, 64-bit AMD, Python. Mm,
this one I just entered,
uh,
and after that I entered this one.
mm-hmm. No, don't put all these things right now. So just put Python space hyphen version, hyphen version. Uh, can you come out of this shell and then just reopen? Open CMD, Windows command prompt. Open Windows
Okay.
command prompt.
Yeah.
Here put Python space. So now you have entered into the Python basically.
Right.
Say print bracket without space and a small bracket.
Without space and
Double
normal.
quotes. Double quotes. Hello. Close the quotes. Put the double quotes one after
Oh,
the
okay.
hello. Yeah.
Okay.
Enter.
Yes.
So now you are actually has entered into the Python interpreter and you are executing your Python commands. Okay. So your
Right.
Python is already installed. You are good to go. Just write quit or something. Or what is the command?
Exit. We need to use exit after the
Exit.
start
Okay.
button. No, you need to use braces.
Exit with braces.
Exit
Yeah,
with
that will
this.
help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now write Python space hyphen version.
This.
So this is
Yes.
your version, okay?
3.11.9.
Ah. So we will be running all our commands from our VS Code terminal, okay?
From our
VS Code, Visual Studio Code. I will just show you.
yeah, VS Code last time we installed. This is
Mm-hmm.
also there in the company software
Okay.
portal.
So the next steps I will just show you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
All right, this is my Visual Studio Code. And I just created this folder, right? Batch 3. Everyone can see. Right. And if you go, you will see these different, so if I click on toggle panel, I will see my terminal console right at the bottom. If I click this one. Okay, so I usually use this one. Some people use in the right hand side like this one, but
Surendra, I suppose you are not sharing.
oh,
I think we can see it as well.
Okay.
let me reshare it. Let me add and stop share, and I'm resharing it. Is it fine now?
Yes, coming up. Yes, visible.
Okay. So what I'm saying is I have created this new folder. Okay, batch 3. I clicked here. Okay, so if you have existing folders, be mindful that you are not clicking on those folders and then clicking. Otherwise, it will create a new folder inside those folders. Okay, just click outside and create new folder. It will create new folder at the root. So this batch 3 is the folder where I will be working. Once I have created the new folder, I just go into this one, toggle panel. Okay, if you click on that, you will be able to see this terminal at the bottom. Okay, so if I click ls, I will be able to see all the folders. I can see the batch 3. So what I can do is now I can do cd batch 3. Okay, now I'm inside my batch 3 folder. Good enough. Now, in order to create a virtual environment, I said Python -m venv. This is the name of the command, and venv1 is name of my virtual environment. Okay, if I click enter, can you mute yourself, please? There is some noise. Thanks. So once I run this command, Python space -m venv virtual environment, and this is name of the environment, it has created this folder. Okay. Now what? Let's say in order to activate, if you see bash 3 has a folder venv, and in the library there is a script folder got created. Within the library, I will see there are just 2 libraries. And in order to activate this virtual environment for my current project, which I'm going to work, if I expand scripts, there is something called activate. Okay, I want to run that. So I will just say venv1. I will go inside the folder which got created venv1 within the scripts folder and then activate. So if I click this one, it has got activated. And once activated, how will you come to know? On the your command prompt or your prompt, you will see the name of your environment right in front of it get appended. Okay. That means right now I am inside my virtual environment 1.
But here we did not give the version number if we have multiple versions like 3.12, 3,
Okay,
3.
Python.
Yes,
For
Python.
that, what you need to do is, if you want to change the Python version also, if I click Python -- version, okay, so right now it's pointing to my Python 3.12 only. If I want Python 3.13, first I need to install Python 1.3 on my laptop, and then I need to change my environment variables in such a way that it will point to 3.13. And if I run this same command right now, what it is doing is it is using this version of the Python to create my virtual environments. And the same version of Python will be there for my virtual environments. If you want 3.13, you have to install 3.13 on your local. See, if you want to use any Python version, that version should be there on your system, on your laptop first. So install 3.13 on your system first, and then use that version to create the virtual environment. It will automatically get created for that version.
No, if I have already multiple versions,
If
I
you
have to
have,
select a
so,
particular one. Then the
so I don't think there is a straightforward command. What I'm saying is, if you go to your virtual this environment variables, okay.
But that will impact all the folders, right?
No. See, this is a one-time activity. Virtual environment which has just got created will use Python 3.12 only. Even if you change Python version to something else afterwards.
So, okay, what you're trying to say is when I'm creating my environment, I need to make sure that what are the required libraries or what are the versions I want, those variables should be in my environment variables. Once I create it, it will take that reference, even though after creating my version in the virtual environment, if I change my environment variable to different version, but this particular environment variable, this virtual environment will continue to use the 3.1.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. System variables, if I change it, it will not have going to impact
It
my
will not
original.
have any impact.
Okay,
Correct.
got it.
So this is whatever we will install, it will get installed in this library. Okay, here. And once I activate this environment, I will be using those libraries. My project will have everything inside those libraries only. It has nothing to do with any other virtual environment or my base version. Okay, I hope it is clear, everyone. So right now I am into VENV1, and what someone asked me how to use that OpenAI, that quick start, right, in VS Code. So what I will do now, I am inside my virtual environment. I will run same commands, pip install OpenAI. So it's installing OpenAI only for this virtual environment. If I go into my lib, I can see all those. Pydantic, typing, all libraries get installed along with OpenAI. Meanwhile, what I will do, I will take my code in Google Colab. Okay. This was my code. So inside this batch 3, I want to create one file, app.ipynb. Okay, here also I can create notebook type of files. Not only Python files, notebook type of files also. Done. I click on the code cell. I will just write import OS, will run, sorry, import OS. It's asking me what environment you want to use. It's not such a VENV1. Okay. Okay, it will take some time. Done. Now what next? This I cannot use there, so I will this is Google Colab specific, so let me put hard code the values for the time being. Where is my key? Or let's use GROQ. This is the GROQ key. This I need to change to GROQ API. Okay, I have set my GROQ API key. Take my GROQ code. Okay, I haven't installed GROQ now. Pip installed. ML, it is taking code assist, Anaconda, Miniconda, global environments, virtual environment. This is not showing batch 3, isn't it? Okay, let me just quit from this workspace. It's not getting refreshed basically. Getting what is the, what is the issue, guys? So the issue is that when I'm running this my Google Colab, sorry, this my IPYNB, it asks me to select one environment, but somehow I am not able to select VENV1. The reason is because I think at this hierarchy, there are other virtual environments which are there. So it's not able to pick the one which I just created, not showing me as a option. Let me try again. ML. It's not showing me the virtual environments that we create. So I'm just recreating environment by a different way. Taking time. Okay, so now
So
it's.
how are we setting that Python now?
So I mean, I just set from here actually. So if in from the VS Code itself, from the user interface, last time I did from the console, this I'm in terminal.
Okay.
So it also give me. So now what I need to do, I need to select that. Okay, but still I haven't. Dot BENV. Something got messed up. Okay. Let me do one thing. Let me start fresh. So this is session 2. Let me create. Okay. Open folder. Bash 3. Session 2 workspace. Okay. Go to this one. Create virtual environment the way I Python -m. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. It will redo it afresh. Installing IPY kernel. Okay, it will take some time. Okay, this is done. This is fine. Okay. Explain the importance of fast language models, and this is the response. Did you get now? Okay, this is working now. Okay, so what other than that, what we usually do is we also create something called as the requirements.txt. Within this file, I usually put all my required libraries, right? OpenAI, some version, and then maybe GROQ, this version, or maybe LangChain, this version. Okay, whatever library I have been using for my project, whatever I am installing, I make a list in requirements.txt file. So that if I want to migrate this one to other system or on my server, there I just need to, install all these libraries. Otherwise, what will happen? I will forget what I have installed, what I have upgraded. So I always keep a list of the required libraries along with their version number, so that once I deploy this on the server, I will just take requirement.txt and I will do something like pip install -r requirement.txt, and it will install all the required libraries in one go. Yeah, someone was asking something. Okay. Good enough for today.
Yes.
How is the
Okay.
Josh? Josh.
No Josh.
No Josh. Yeah, I know it was a lengthy class. Okay, just take your time. I will try to upload this video as soon as possible so that you have sufficient time today itself to go through and do all these exercises. If you don't do, you will be in trouble for the next classes, right? So try to keep pace with me so that you don't miss. Otherwise, it's very difficult to catch up in the future. Okay? Try to play around with all the things we have done today. If you have any questions, if I'm not away this evening, you can ping me. We can spend 30 minutes if you have any doubts.
Sure, Surendra.
All right, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Chalo. We'll wrap up today. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Rest of the weekend. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Surendra.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.